Yo, Nakama, how is it going? It is your boy Cozy coming at you with another episode of the Cardboard Cafe, where today's topic is a little bit of the first time we're actually going to have a real discussion in terms of the topic that we're going to be looking at. And that idea is net decking. Is it a cheat code? Is it a crutch? What exactly does net decking do to the One Piece card game community? Some people on one side say it's really, really good. Other people on the other side say it's really, really bad and it shouldn't really be done. Or people that do it are very cringy or whatever the case is. And I got to tell you, I'm here to talk about both sides, see how it's going to go out. And so the first thing we're going to do, grab our favorite drink and let's talk cardboard. So for those that don't know what it is, right, is the idea of what is net decking. And with net decking, it is basically you go on YouTube, you go to the internet like One Piece Top Decks or TCG matchmaking, and you find a list and you just copy that list and play it. You just grab anything off the internet and you play it. A good example is anytime you looked at my videos for deck ideas and you just copied the exact same list that I'm running and boom, you just net deck. Now, I'm going to make the case first for net decking. Now, the idea of what makes net decking really, really good is the idea that it kind of gives you the visual representation of what a correct or successful deck list looks like for a card game. So like in One Piece, for example, using the One Piece Top Decks website to see what decks have performed really, really well in the meta with certain scoring, going 4-0, finishing first place. Whatever the case is, you get to see visually what a successful deck looks like for a leader in the format that has done well at a major tournament. The same thing can be said for Magic the Gathering when people are doing top cuts and they show off their modern list that is currently undefeated going into the finals. They have a net deck for that, and people will copy that list, say, oh, this deck was super, super strong. It's really, really good. It's always going to win. Boom, boom, boom. And now they see what that list looks like and they make it correct. It also helps learn matchup theory a little bit and card ratios from proven results instead of just throwing something against the wall and hoping it sticks. Like if you are stuck between, oh, do I run 4 copies of this or 3 copies of this? Honestly, people just look up the net deck and see what other people are running and see what the normal is for a ratio and call it good. It also applies levels of it levels the playing field for like newer players and like local players without really having a metagame exposure. So if you are relatively new to the One Piece card game, first and foremost, welcome. Additionally, you probably don't know what a lot of these cards do or what a successful deck looks like for a specific leader that you want to play. So you look up a list and you practice with that list just so that you can get used to playing the card game. You see that the deck is very successful. You know these ratios are fine. So you're going to net deck. You're going to grab those cards and you're going to play those cards. I think it's really, really good for newer players. I tend to kind of scour some lists online so I can look at some ratios of like what normal people are running that have a lot of experience with a deck, especially with one that I've never really played. So like with Green Blue Luffy as an example, I looked up a couple of lists to kind of see what's hot, what's going off right now. And I've kind of built something inspired by those lists and have really been a driving force behind what Green Blue Luffy leader or deck that I'm playing. Now, on the other side of it, the bad side of net decking is it kind of creates what I like to call the crutch trap. So for the crutch trap itself, it's the inability to really know how the deck operates. Like if you can't explain your own deck, you run out of resources for whatever particular reason, right? If you can't ask or answer the simple question of why you run this at a certain ratio or why does this sequence work in this particular matchup, net decking kind of prohibits that because you don't know the underlying reasons for why those ratios were chosen without really either A, playing the deck, or B, having somewhat of an experience playing against the deck so you kind of know how it operates, which a lot of times net deckers will have a general idea of what the list does, but they can't give you definites and they can't give you specifics, and they kind of lean on that trap, that crutch of, oh, I know this list does really, really well. It runs two of this because that's how the deck's supposed to work. Now, it also fails to take over a lot of like rogue or off meta picks because there's no real adaptive understanding to the list. You saw the list online, you grabbed it, you started playing it. Now you don't know how to pivot in certain situations where the deck itself needs to pivot because what it's playing against is not optimal. It's not allowing you to set yourself up correctly, or the deck itself is just not set up to be successful. And you kind of got to navigate your way through a tumultuous time in the turn or time in the game to get back on track to seeing what the deck can do. It also kind of gives you the issue of like playing the deck versus piloting the deck. And I feel piloting the deck is what makes the deck successful. Because if you're just going to play the deck, you're going to face a lot of the issues that come with, you know, not understanding how the deck works. It'll be easy to play, but it's hard to master and it's hard to pilot. And net deckers kind of fall into that crutch in that wheelhouse. The idea that I have in terms of like using net decking as a tool rather than a support is the idea and the concept of brewing versus borrowing. So I want to know, is there a healthy middle ground of using net decks as a learning base but not the end goal? I like the idea of using it as a tool to kind of help you rebuild it yourself, right? You're going to redo the list in memory. You're going to explain every slot out of it and really know why the deck does what it does. And that comes from a lot of things. It comes from reading what the cards do. It comes from uh, understanding your matchups. It comes from learning the game at a core fundamental level. Once you get that understanding down, you're no longer using net decking as a brewing portion of it. You're then using net decking as a borrowing method to kind of see what is and is not working for the deck so that way you can start to be inspired, create something that matches your own play style. But that is kind of where the healthy topic is of where this debate comes from. Is it wrong to use net decking as an end state or a tool in terms of creating a deck? Honestly, I feel it's a very valuable tool. Just that way you can get multiple perspectives. I would never really use a net deck if I did not understand why and how it works. But I will use a net deck to get an understanding of what is doing really well in terms of ratios, in terms of combos, and see what other people are playing. I love seeing other people's deck lists because then it gets me thinking. Then I get to this bad habit of buying a whole bunch of cards, building a whole bunch of decks, and then I fall into the trap that we had from last episode that I mentioned where I'm playing too many decks. I'm not getting really, really good and I'm no longer improving. But that is my own habit. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do me. So be it. But the last thing I kind of want to cover in this whole like net decking conversation with you guys is the content creator paradox. Now, I publish deck lists too. And I want to kind of circle it back around, right? Of are content creators also part of the problem when it comes to net decking? The answer is very subjective. There's not really an objective answer to it. To me, I feel some content creators can be part of the problem, but it goes all about how you want to really go through with it, right? So like for me, in the deck list videos that I do, I explain the card itself so that you have an understanding of why it's in a particular list. There are just some content creators out there that just say, oh, I run 3 of this, 4 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this, 3 of this. You would want to see this when you do this example, but only give one example and not really educate people on card lists. I feel if the content creator is providing education in addition to the deck list, they're not part of the problem. They're actually working towards part of being the solution when it comes to net decking and giving that negative stigma of if you're a net decker, you're not good at the game, you're wasting your time on a net deck that you don't even understand how it works, this, that, and the third. Now, I want to explain why certain cards are in there. So hopefully I'm part of the solution and not the problem. I could be part of the problem too. Don't get me wrong. I would love to know if I'm part of the problem or the solution. But I want to just kind of put that out there is that sometimes content creators can be part of a problem when we could also be part of the solution. We're here to generally push for your guys' entertainment, but also to be educational if that's kind of like our intention, to educate, to entertain, and to persuade. If we're able to do that in whatever capacity, so be it. And if the content's enjoyable, by all means, play net decks. That's what you want to do. Go ahead and play some net decks. Get used to the game. Understand the format. All for it. If you're using net decks to try to be successful and to win, you're going to have an uphill climb for you. Now, I want to take away 3 big things from this conversation that we had. And I want to do this before you play any net deck list. Explain every card choice out loud before you build the list. I want you to track your swaps and why you made those swaps if you do any. And then lastly, play at least one local event before copying an optimal list build. If you can do all of that, use Netdecking as a tool, you're going to see a lot more of a positive impact, not only to your own gameplay, but potentially to how people view you in terms of being a card game player. Now, the most important thing now is our question of the week, guys. I want you guys to drop your most controversial Netdecking take in the comments down below. But also, if you're in the Cult of Cozy Discord, go ahead and mention it in there too so we can keep the conversation going off of this video and see where everybody kind of sits. Do you guys feel Netdecking is a good thing or a bad thing? So don't forget, guys, check all the links down in the description below to like, subscribe, and comment onto the channel. Go ahead and join the Discord. And I also got the merch link down there so you can pick up some proxy cards and some other cozy merch. But until next time, you guys, this has been the Cardboard Cafe. And I want to say, peace and love, y'all.
Thanks for riding with the vibe. Cozy games every time. Pulling leaders, making plays on the line. Sailing through the grand line, strategy refined. Catch your next match, stay locked in the grind.